the very first study, human study of C60 was reduction in fine lines and wrinkles in Japanese women. And, they put the C60 on and then over time, it was a 3-month study, I think, or maybe it was 6 months. Anyway, but over time, they could definitely see the reduction. And they didn't really at the time know what was happening, but we have since found out that what C60 does, it increases stem cell production.
Welcome to C60 Health Connections. Today we have my friend and business partner, Ken Swartz, is with us. Ken is a biogeochemist and a research scientist, and he serves as our chief science officer at C60 Power. Today, we are going to have a really fun conversation with Ken. We're going to talk about 10 of the spookiest things C60 may be able to help with. For those of you out there who are passionate about Halloween and health, this video is for you. Hey, Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right. This is going to be kind of a fun format. I'm just going to rapid fire questions at you. Okay. So I've dreamt up the 10 scariest things that I think C60 could help with, but I don't know. I'd like to actually get your feedback to validate those. So for number one, radiation exposure, whether that be from your cell phone or you're getting on the plane or there's some kind of weird, crazy disaster in the world. Tell us a little bit about C60 and how it may help if you are exposed to radiation.
Radiation is all around us, as we've said, and there's some little things going on currently in certain places, which may result in a little radiation contamination coming your way. So what are we going to worry about? Now, radiation I'm going to be talking about is that ionizing radiation. That's that atomic radiation. That's and usually what that does, it's usually like a gamma ray or a neutron or some other charged particle, and it goes in and knocks things off. And the number one oxidative radical that radiation usually makes is the hydroxyl ion. The hydroxyl ion is just a water molecule missing a proton, which is, you're 70% water. So if you're going to hit with radiation, that's probably going to be something damaged because it happens down there at the molecular level. And C60 is that's one of its things that really works with the hydroxyls, any basic hydroxyls. It neutralizes them, usually back to water, and then can reset itself. So that's, as you may have heard the story, how they had one of the scientific studies. They gave one set of rats C60, the other set didn't get any C60, hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. Pretty much all the C60 rats live, where the control rats, of course, all immediately died. And, now we're probably not going to be facing radiation levels like that, but, even lower levels of radiation that could happen in the environment from contaminants, C60 can do a great way of neutralizing the oxidative radicals produced by that radiation before it causes problems.
Okay, so what about for radiation that comes from your cell phone, from daily use, or from your laptop, or even from just travel, being at high altitude, traveling in airplanes? How can C60 help with some of the damage that's caused from those free radicals?
Well, for years and years, people said that electromagnetic radiation, lower level stuff, non-ionizing radiation, as they would call it, didn't have a bad thing because, like especially the quote 5Gs and a lot of the area stuff in that area where you have routers, it doesn't heat the body's tissue up very much, so it can't possibly be causing damage. Well, they've done more research and they found that this lower microwave frequency radiation can actually jam open voltage gated channels in your cell walls. So primarily, like calcium will leak into your cell and cause all kinds of oxidative damage, and which of course you don't want to happen. And there's maybe some at the potassium and maybe sodium voltage gated channels may be damaged as well. And of course, if you have C60 in your cell, C60 can neutralize those superoxides and other hydroxyls produced by the calcium leaking into your cells. But of course, it's best not to get that in the way too. Another way radiation damages things is, your proteins have to fold up like origami. It's very complex sometimes, and if you're getting everything's being jostled around by a bunch of EM radiation, it can damage the folding of those proteins. They don't fold right, and now you have a protein that's worthless, or it could even be toxic. So that's what we want to avoid, and C60 can help with that. Of course, trying to minimize radiation exposure in your environment is good. A lot of what people don't know is you have little packets you can put your cell phone in, and nobody can call in or call out. But a lot of the 5G towers that people talk about, they actually target your cell phone. So if you have a cell phone with a 5G app on it and you're walking through an area with 5G towers, they can actually target you. Whereas if you have it in your little pouch that prevents radiation, prevents the communication, then they don't even know you're there and you don't get zapped. So that's a good idea. And for flying in airplanes, well, that's basically that ionizing radiation. There's all kinds of cosmic particles slamming into the atmosphere of the Earth from outer space. It's a very big universe out there, and then those particles come scattering down into can cause damage, especially at 30,000 feet. It's a lot less here at the ground because you have that more air to protect you from them.
Right. But in terms of what you said before about the radiation protection from C60, will you connect that back to airplane exposure radiation?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. It will knock, you get little things the same way. It'll knock pieces of molecules off that'll make high energy radicals like superoxides and hydroxyl ions. Those are the most damaging. And then the C60 can neutralize those because there's usually a chain reaction, like the hydroxyl will tear an electron off this molecule, which then makes it electron hungry, which tear another electron off another and another and another. So it creates this whole cascade of damage. So if C60 blocks that cascade before it happens, then that prevents it. And then C60 has been found in multiple scientific studies to do just that very efficiently.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're moving on to the second scariest issue that C60 may be able to help with, and that is brain fog. Whether it's from a natural cause like aging, or whether it's from a combination of medication, maybe you had a sickness, a flu, a virus, something happened to you over the course of the last year, maybe you had a tremendous amount of personal stress in your life, but all of a sudden one day you wake up, and maybe it's not one day, maybe it's something that you're noticing over a period of time where you just can't think clearly. Maybe you stare at your computer screen and you don't remember what you were going to do next. So Ken, talk to us a little bit about C60 and how it may help support with overall brain health.
Well, the key thing on keeping your brain healthy, obviously, if you've got oxidative damage or radicals going on, that's going to damage the processing of your neurons and it's not going to work. But probably the really number one thing that people have is energy. You have hundreds of, especially in nerve cells, there's actually thousands of little mitochondria that can make up to like 50% the mass of the cell. And these mitochondria make ATP. That's the energy molecule of the cell. That runs like 95% of everything going on in that cell. And if those are damaged or can't work efficiently, well, then your brain cells just don't have the energy they need to function correctly. And that's basically what brain fog is. As we get older, a lot of the antioxidants that our brain makes to protect us against oxidative radicals, because those little mitochondria, they're furnaces, right? They're turning out this energy, ATP, but they make a little bit of pollution, usually superoxides and hydroxyl ions. And they can cause damage. So the mitochondria actually have self-regulating, they'll turn themselves down. As we get older, things like SOD, superoxide dismutase, which takes care of that superoxide, or the catalase, which takes care of the hydroxyl ion, or even glutathione, which also helps with the hydroxyl ions, they just naturally go down in our body. And especially if you're under a lot of stress or environmental toxins, it can just overwhelm your brain chemistry, and voila, you have brain fog. Well, when you take C60 goes in, it passes your gut barrier, passes the blood-brain barrier, it's taken into the nerve cells, and then the mitochondria will pull that through endocytosis, pull that C60 inside of them, and they use it as a SOD catalase mimic in dealing with the superoxide and the occasional hydroxyl ion. C60 will neutralize that before it can get out and cause damage. And that's really the number one thing people notice when they first start taking C60 is after a while they wake up and they say, wow, my brain fog is gone. I can think clearly. And that's the reason is those mitochondria, which are 50% of your nerve cell, which are making all that energy, they can make energy again. They turn themselves back on. Now you've got ATP. Now you've got the energy to your brain cells to work, your neurotransmitters to be produced, fired, reuptaken, and all the other things that you need for good brain health.
Okay, great. I'm going to move on to number 3, the third scariest issue C60 might be able to help with, and that is fatigue or low energy. So can you talk to us a little bit about how and why C60 helps people experience more energy?
Well, you got a couple things going on here. As I mentioned before, C60 is an SOD catalase mimic, and that means it's SOD is used in your mitochondria, especially in catalase, to get rid of superoxide and the hydroxyl ions, which can cause a lot of damage in the brains. And so and if you don't have the ATP being produced by your mitochondria, you just don't have the energy to do stuff. So C60 can take care of that too. But a lot of fatigue today is actually caused by chronic, well, it's by chronic fatigue. And let's get a little bit on the sciencey on this. There's acute inflammation, which is that's caused, let's say, when you twist your ankle, right? It swells up, it hurts, and also it immobilizes it, so you don't want to move it around. But another thing that happens, most people don't know, is it actually suppresses dopamine production. And dopamine's the motivation molecule. That's literally the molecule that gets you out of bed in the morning. And of course, obviously, if your ankle is injured, you don't want, your body doesn't want you to get up and walking on it. That would not be good. But the problem is people have chronic inflammation. And that's where the problem comes in. And you have that same dopamine suppression. Well, usually inflammation, you got little nerves, you got little white blood cells called neutrophils, and the macrophages are down there. And neutrophils actually use superoxides as machine gun bullets to take out bacteria and other nasties. And usually chronic fatigue, it's an autoimmune situation, because that chronic inflammation, like an arthritis or other things, is just kind of your immune system is dysregulated. And C60 has been found in scientific studies to make immune cells in the human body work better or work more efficiently. And that's one. And also C60 gets in there and suppresses, because usually, why are you having inflammation? It's because there's damage going on there. And damage is caused by what? Oxidative radicals, especially high energy oxidative radicals. C60 gets in there, neutralizes those oxidative radicals before they can cause damage. Then they don't cause the damage. You don't get the inflammation. You don't get the macrophages with the cytokines that go out, that bring in the neutrophils, which cause more inflammation and more cytokines, and show you that whole process gets stopped. No, it won't go away immediately, but within a couple of weeks, people start noticing that motivation comes back. And usually it comes with something like an obsession of wanting to clean the house and take care of a lot of those things that have been on the plate that have been building up. So yeah, people definitely will notice a reduction in fatigue with C60, but not just that, it's like you get the motivation back.
All right, a boost of energy. This next one, number 4 scary issue that C60 may help with, is something that's near and dear to my own heart. It's those annoying sniffles and sneezes that come with seasonal changes. We both live in Colorado. I am extremely agitated by most of the grasses in the trees here. One of the first things that I noticed was really the need for constant use of Kleenex. It just went away over a period of time. So I was really excited about that when I first started my C60 journey in 2017. But Ken, will you talk to us a little bit about the science behind this histamine reaction? Oh, that's you're showing a tissue right now as a scary ghost, and that's
scary.
like the ghost of my past.
Yes, very
So
scary,
thank you.
those
Thank you for that.
tissues. Yes, well, one of the things that C60 has been showing, it moderates the release of histamines in human mast cells. And that's the thing that really, but actually all of your cells will produce histamines. And so when you take C60 gets in there, the cells start operating more efficiently the way they did when you were younger. The mast cells don't do a huge release of histamines, which is what gives you the swelling and the runny nose and all that. So we already know that C60 does that. And it also strengthens the immune system so that the immune system operates, more efficiently. It doesn't go into crisis mode all the time. And so yeah, C60 is definitely known for allergies. And it also helps people, I think people assist people in recovering from those other things that cause sniffles, which come around in the fall and sometimes in the spring. So all around, C60 can definitely help get rid of those scary allergy symptoms and all the runny noses and achiness that goes with it.
Great, thank you. All right, the next issue, we call it oxidative stress, we call it an oxidative burden, but more commonly, It's referred to as chronic inflammation. And we covered this a little bit earlier, but Ken, talk to us specifically about how C60 can help promote a balanced inflammatory response and not one that's a giant overreaction.
Well, the first thing is, chronic inflammation is really something that, the body, you don't want. And it usually comes with aging. We all know about acute inflammation. You sprain your ankle, it swells up, you get the pain and the redness and the heat, but all of that's part of the healing process. And the other thing is that obviously it suppresses dopamine. But the problem is you get chronic inflammation, and there's a whole bunch of different reasons for chronic inflammation. A lot of that is due to the gut, because the gut's the number one cause of inflammation there. And it's usually what happens is the gut is cells are not turning over correctly. And so you're getting leakage in the gut. And so things that shouldn't be in the body are leaking in from the gut, of course, which that causes inflammation. And then the inflammation causes cytokines, macrophages to go there that release cytokines, which cause more inflammation. And so you got this kind of a runaway situation. So when you take C60 release, it kind of moderates the release of histamines from mast cells. It also makes the function of things like macrophages increase. But one of the greatest things of C60 in long term is it increases stem cell levels in the body. So once your stem cell levels go up, in fact, that's shown by actually one of the first studies of human studies that they did with C60 is it was a cream that Japanese women put on their faces, and lines and wrinkles went away. Well, a lot of people don't know it, but your skin cells are the same type of skin cells are lining your gut. What's on the outside is the same as the inside. They're in the same family of cells. So something that, of course, works on skin also works on cells. And from additional research, we found that getting rid of the wrinkles or healing up the fissures in the gut that cause leakage is actually caused by a lack of stem cells. So once your stem cell levels rise with the use of C60 over time, then the problems in your gut go way down, just like the wrinkles in your face go way down. And now your gut's efficiently working, and that's the number one cause of inflammation. Now, there's other things too, like you have various kind of autoimmune things and arthritis and various other things. And that also in animal studies has been found very good to inflammation from that sort of things. But also in part of those studies, it discovered that the cartilage was regrown and that's also where the concept of the stem cells come in. So really C60 is helping you two ways. It's the inflammation, plus it's going to get to the bottom of the problem and build up your stem cell levels so that your body can heal itself. And that's really the way for healing is your body doing it itself.
Thank you for that, Ken. We're going to move on to the sixth scary issue is exposure to toxic free radicals. You might be exposed to these just from the process of aging, might be from exercise, could be from lifestyle choices, good or bad, or just even from exposure to toxins in the environment. So Ken, can you tell us a little bit about how C60 can help neutralize these free radicals that basically make our body rust?
Oh, okay. Well, free radicals, that's what they are. They're oxidative radicals, usually what people call them. And literally, they're various species of oxygen molecules which cause rusting of your cells, basically. There's a variety of them, but superoxide, that's an oxygen with an extra electron. The hydroxyl ion, that's an oxygen with, a hydrogen. Missing a hydrogen would make a proper water molecule, and it goes on from there. And like, for instance, 65% of the oxidative radicals that you're actually going to be facing in your cell come from the cell itself, come from the mitochondria. So if your mitochondria aren't functioning and have the necessary levels of antioxidant in it, then you can definitely have problems there. And that's one of the core sources, and that's internal. But there's lots of other things outside. Obviously, another thing is a lot of toxins that break down in your body actually produce oxidative radicals as they break down, because they're usually high energy molecules. And when you snap those bonds, they produce, high energy oxidative radicals. And C60 is very good at neutralizing that. And that basically C60 neutralizes the oxidative radicals that are produced in the breakdown of toxic substances. And in that way, C60 can protect the body against the damaging effects of these oxidative radicals. And of course, there's, we talked about the radiation, but there's also stress levels. That's another one. People get toxic levels. And what happens is a lot of times that your body just gets overwhelmed with stress, and like one of the problems is your cortisone levels go up, and various other things produced by your adrenals, and they're all produced by pregnenolone, which is a precursor molecule for all the hormones. And the pregnenolone is produced by your mitochondria, where they turn that nasty LDL cholesterol, which isn't really bad at all. It's only when it goes bad is when it's not being used. It turns those LDLs into cholesterols, which is good. And those cholesterols are, your brain is mostly cholesterol. And if you don't have a good level of cholesterol levels, you're not going to do so well. But when they're healthy levels and in the right place. And so one of those things that takes that LDL, turns it into pregnenolone, which is a precursor molecule for all your hormones. And then you can have enough, if you're really under stress, you have enough of this precursor molecule for hormones that you have hormones for all the other hormones that you need, not just the cortisone. You got mineral corticoids, you got androgens, that's the sex hormones that, testosterone, estrogen. You got glucocorticoids, they help, digest stuff. And so all of those things, they could drop low if you don't have your mitochondria functioning. C60 gets your mitochondria up. They're making a lot of pregnenolone. Your LDL levels drop and your pregnenolone levels go up, and then your body decides what that pregnenolone level is going to be used for. So it's a wide ranging things, whether it's better sleep and melatonin or human growth hormone or whatever it is, your body decides what it needs, and that just makes your body work better.
That's exciting. Thank you. All right. Number 7, the 7th scary issue C60 may be able to help you with is discomfort and soreness, or DOMS, after workout. So once you start down your healthy lifestyle journey and you are trying to incorporate more and more exercise into your daily routine, sometimes you work out too hard or you're just getting started, you're going to experience some aches and pains. So Ken, will you tell us a little bit about how C60 can help potentially speed up the recovery process and help people bounce back quicker when they might be experiencing some discomfort or soreness after a workout?
Well, one of the things is when you start exercising, that demands of your cells more energy. And then the cells will send out messages to the mitochondria. The mitochondria, the powerhouses that make ATP. And so that's their little furnaces, as they churn up and make all this energy to run to get to whatever exercise you're doing, they produce these oxidative radicals. And actually, it's when these oxidative radicals overwhelm the body's antioxidants like superoxide and catalase and glutathione that keep them down, what you get is lactic acid buildup. And so the lactic acid just starts building up. It kind of interferes with the Krebs cycle that makes your ATP. And at some point, you just don't have the energy to go on, right? You kind of hit the wall and you stop doing it until the lactic acid levels drop back down, and then you can exercise again. And this is where C60 comes in, because C60 is taken into the mitochondria. And if the mitochondria ramp up, they're making a lot of that superoxide, a lot of the hydroxyl ions. C60 can help neutralize a lot of those before they get out of the mitochondria into the cell, where they can cause damage. And especially that superoxide, because what happens is a lot of that superoxide can form with nitric oxides, which are a signaling molecule your body uses. That makes peroxynitrite, and that's kind of low reactive, but it can travel long distances before it kind of does its damage. And so you really want to keep your peroxynitrite levels down, and C60 can definitely help that. And that peroxynitrite levels, they believe, one of the main causes of DOMS, that delayed onset muscle soreness that you get like 2 days afterwards, because that's kind of, your body just got overwhelmed. You had all these oxidative radicals. They all did all kinds of damage, like they punch holes in your cell walls so things leak in that shouldn't, or leak out, and can damage proteins and stuff. And you don't feel it directly, but the day after exercise, that's when the pain you get is from the inflammation caused by these damaged membranes or proteins or whatever, and then that causes things like macrophages and other white blood cells to send out cytokines and that's what gives you your whole soreness as your body tries to repair itself. So C60 stops the damage before it happens, and so your levels of DOMS go down.
Wonderful. Well, the next scary issue that C60 may be able to help with, number 8, is aging, specifically people who are dealing with the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And this is an issue that I'm extremely passionate about, because I don't think aging is fun and I'm not interested in it whatsoever. So This is part of the reason why we have launched 2 new products over the course of the last couple of months. Our C60 anti-gravity serum, which if you haven't tried it, it is amazing. And our C60 Youth Renewal Eye Cream, which both have C60 in them. Our Youth Renewal Eye Cream has some amazingly powerful copper peptides plus C60 and a whole host of other natural botanical ingredients that support anti-aging. But besides that, Ken, let's get back to the question, all right? Help us understand specifically, when applied topically, how C60 can help lessen the appearance of these fine lines and wrinkles that are associated with aging that none of us like.
Yeah, well, that can be pretty scary, especially when you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and there
Ah!
they are. Where do those come from? Well, let's go in to see how C60 can help that. In fact, that's the very first study, human study of C60, was reduction in fine lines and wrinkles in Japanese women. And they put the C60 on, and then over time, it was a 3-month study, I think, or maybe it was 6 months. Anyway, but over time, they could definitely see the reduction. And they didn't really at the time know what was happening, but we have since found out that what C60 does, it increases stem cell production. And what you do is your skin cells turn over, and they turn over a lot. And you need stem cells to replace the ones that are going away, right? And as you get older, your stem cell levels go down. So your ability to replace the skin cells goes down, and the skin gets thinner. And that's basically what's causing the wrinkles. That and a lot of the collagen base is not being built, but that's also due to skin cell turnover. And that, well, when you take C60, your stem cell levels go way up, and now those stem cells that you have can go to help make more, because stem cells are baby cells. They can be anything, right? And if you need more skin cells, those stem cells turn into skin cells, and that makes your skin thicker, which reduces lines and wrinkles. And that's one way that C60 can help reduce the signs of aging.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. The next scary issue that C60 may be able to help with has to do with those cracks and pops that as we age, we feel in our various bones and joints. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how people may be able to experience some relief with that cracking and popping that we all tend to notice as we age?
Well, part of that, of course, is that you have to do, and really a critical key things that C60 can help, but it is not a magic bullet, and that is exercise. Everybody needs to be doing exercise as you get older, and the older you get, the more sort of exercise you need, and also you have to do it properly. Various one thing, pretty much as you get older, you don't want high impact exercise. So like walking is good, running is bad. Bicycling is good. Swimming is good. All of those non-impact exercise, because impacts, they're basically smacking your joints together, and you really don't want to do that. You want to have more or less impact, like a bicycle that kind of goes round and round. So that's the first thing. But now we're getting our exercise. Well, C60 is great on this. You got your exercise, you got your nutrition, and C60, it can do two things really. Well, obviously it makes inflammation. It DOMS, that delayed onset muscle soreness. So, you aren't feeling as bad after exercising as you maybe would be if you didn't have C60. And of course, that would encourage you to keep doing the exercise because it gets rid of that inflammation. And the other thing is the stem cells. To maintain muscle mass, you need stem cells to go in there and help build your muscles, or especially cartilage and things like that, which C60 is also very good at. And of course, a third thing is your hormone levels. For muscle building, testosterone is needed for guys, even for women. You need a certain level of testosterone, and that comes from the androgens, which are produced in your adrenal glands. Then those androgens go through your body, and depending on who you are, turns it into testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, whatever your body needs at that level. But so you got to have that base of androgens. And of course, the androgens come from pregnenolone, which is produced in your mitochondria. So you got to have healthy mitochondria. And healthy mitochondria are really the key to good cellular health. And that, of course, leads out to good health everywhere. So supporting your mitochondria by taking C60 is really the key to building the muscle mass getting rid of those aches and pains and snapping and popping. Of course, also don't forget a little bit of stretching before exercise can also help you in not so much snapping and popping.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Our very last scary issue that C60 may be able to help you with is declining performance. And you can define this however you want. It might be declining mental performance. It might be declining athletic performance. Shoot, it might even be declining sexual performance, but it's all about performance. So, Ken, will you talk a little bit about how C60 helps to support performance as we age?
Well, I mean, the number one thing you need in performance obviously is energy. And where does energy come from? Energy in your body, in your cells, comes from ATP, adenine triphosphate. And where does that come? That comes from the mitochondria. And so the basis for energy for all of that, performance comes from high performing mitochondria. And one of the things as we age, there are certain internal antioxidants that our cells produce that go down as we age. And of course, there is CoQ10. Now, you can supplement for that, and you should be. Another is glutathione. You can supplement for that, but it's not quite so easy to get the glutathione to where it is, but better to supplement than not have it. And then there's SOD and catalase. And these are produced internally in your cells, and they can't be supplemented for. But fortunately, C60 is a mimic. It does the job of SOD and catalase in dealing with superoxide in one step. And so basically C60 steps in there and takes the job. So I guess you can say it's being supplemented, the SOD catalase levels. And so when those SOD and catalase levels rise, along with the other things that hopefully you're supplementing for, then your mitochondria can function more efficiently, produce more ATP, and of course your performance will go up. And a lot of this stuff won't happen overnight, because if your body's been falling apart and things haven't been turning over, you need to, there's various proteins and other structures in your cells that need repairing. So, taking C60 long term to repair a lot of that internal structure, so you'll get an increase in performance in the short term, but over long term, you'll also see a long term increase in performance and endurance.
Wonderful. Well, Ken, thanks so much for your time today. For those of you out there, if you're concerned about any of these spooky issues, feel free to check out C60 Power. You can find us at shopc60.com. And if you like this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe, and pass this video on to a friend who might be able to benefit from this information. Thanks so much. And Ken, we'll see you next time.